Hey everyone, welcome back to the Critic Cafe. We're actually on the 15th episode. I'm joined by Wannibe Studios. Both Manisha and Nadisha are here today. And do you guys want to give a little bit about your background and your own creative process and like what you guys do?
Okay. So hi, I'm Manisha. I work as a full-time software engineer, but I do game dev on the side. So it's like a hobby, passion project. And we started a couple years ago where we released our first game that we just did for fun, and we released it on the Play Store. And we're like, oh, we can actually kind of make this a real thing maybe eventually. But for now, it's just on our
kind
free
of a
time.
side project.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Nadisha. I'm currently a architecture student, and I don't really do any game development, but I do the graphics for our games. So it's not like something we do all the time. So like we just dabble in it when we have free time. So that's why we don't really have projects going on right now, but we just kind of tap back into it whenever we have a chance.
That's cool. And then Manisha, I think you touched on it a little bit, but do you guys eventually like want to take this to like be your more like full-time thing, or is it more going to be like as a side thing?
Well, for now, it's more of a side thing. We want to build our skills, especially me. I want to build my skills, try different. There's so many parts in game dev, right? Like 2D, 3D, VR. So I just want to try like a little bit of everything, see what works, and once I'm confident, then maybe I'll pursue it for full time. But for now, it's more of a journey, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's pretty cool. Like both of you have like that dynamic of like Nadisha makes the art and then Manisha makes like the coding behind it. So I think that's pretty cool. Like how does that work? Like do does one person make something and then the other person makes it according to that? Or is it kind of like you guys both think of an idea and then you both kind of develop it from there?
Yeah. It's more of a collaborative process, I think. We kind of come together and think of an idea, and then we don't necessarily like, I guess she does the coding specifically. Like I don't ever want to interfere with that because I have no idea, but like for creative stuff, for like art, she obviously kind of like gives her input, and then we kind of go off there. But yeah, we just both come up with like
we bounce ideas off with each other.
Like brought our sketch pad. Like our sketch pad has like ideas from both of us. It's not just like me coming up with ideas. We kind of like come up with ideas, and then I kind of refine the ideas, I guess, for the graphics, anyways.
How did you guys come? I think one of your characters is like a little guy with like a tiki head and his like tongue like shoots out to get coconuts or something.
Oh yeah. Do you want to explain that? Okay, like in our Sri Lankan culture, there's a whole like concept of devils and what are they? Yeah, just like devils, and we actually have spirits. Spirits, and we have these masks like during our culture days and stuff, and people actually wear these masks and do like dances and stuff like that. So we were just using that concept of like, oh, this mask and
what was
their tongues. Yeah.
It was for a game jam, and the theme was
keep it alive.
Keep it alive. So we thought about like culture and keeping our culture alive. So we kind of like remembered those demon masks, and then like
try to use like that in a different way, I guess. Yeah. So that was
how did that experience go, by the way, like with the game jam? Because you have like limited amount of time, right, to make a whole like a full-fleshed game, you know, and includes the sound, you know, the art, the coding, like everything.
That one actually, like we haven't really done a proper game jam in a long time. We did one at my school, like my university once, and that was 8 hours, I think. So that was like nothing.
That's almost. It?
Yeah, but
I thought they have like 24 usually.
Yeah, it's usually longer. Oh. But the one that we did for that game jam, it was 72 hours. So that was like our first actual game jam experience. And we weren't comfortable with the time like span or anything. So we didn't know how to plan out for exactly that amount of time. So we definitely overscoped. Like we had so many more levels we wanted to do.
We're like super detail oriented. So we like the way we were planning out was like,
yeah. And even if you saw the graphics, like they're like we went way too far. with the graphics for just 3 days.
You would see if you like saw a regular like the content that's made for a regular game jam. It's not very graphic based. It's more like coming up with an interesting game concept. But like we went like super heavy on the graphics and like made it more of an interactive experience when it's usually just like
gameplay. And
stuff. Oh, I see. Yeah, because usually I notice people make like really basic like pixel art for game jams typically.
For a game jam, usually you keep everything simple, right? But we weren't comfortable yet with the concept of a game jam, so we didn't really know what we were doing.
And also like I didn't feel like I had a part. Like I didn't feel like I had a place in a game jam because it's mostly just developers doing it, I guess. There isn't many teams of like a developer and an artist, right? It's like
well, sometimes it's mostly like people who have experience with both and then they take on like an art role or something, but you're just like graphics and everything, right? So we didn't know how to balance each other properly at that time. That's why we went a little bit too far with the graphics and not enough with the gameplay for that game.
Oh, I see.
People had like a harder time with some parts, and also like it was a little bit buggy at that time, I think. So we definitely learned a lot from that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like that's definitely like a huge learning experience, like going forward, like participating in both in like other game jams, but also just like for your profession in general. I'm thinking like how wait, hold on. How do I phrase this? It's because it's interesting to see like I know like for individual game jams, like usually like the developer has to make everything like the sound, like the art and the code. And I think it's cool because you guys can like delegate different tasks, and kind of find a balance that way.
But I guess the problem with doing that is like again we kind of put too much on each on each other. Like it didn't need to be that complicated and we made it super complicated. But I guess we learned from that, and now like the game jam that we did after we scaled it down and figured out how to make it.
Like we're like, okay, this time we need to focus on gameplay a little bit more while still keeping that aesthetic value that we usually have. But we don't need to go that far this time, right?
Right.
So our next game was the Sweet Escape, right? That was like our first little 3D game.
And I think I watched that one.
Yeah, this time
was it on Mrs.'s. Did I even say his name right? Mrs. I think.
No, that was actually Space Link. That was like my.
Oh, that was a different one. Okay.
This one's just like a little puzzle game. So you go around and you catch a donut and you try to escape.
Oh, huh.
So it's a little puzzle game, but we have like multiple levels this time. So we focused on the gameplay, and people really enjoyed playing that game more than our previous game, I think.
Okay, that's cool. You know what I noticed in your videos too? You guys do like little cinematic cuts, like either at the beginning or the end. I really like that. That's a cool touch to add.
Yeah, like, but that's what we were saying. Like, those are things that people don't usually put into like game jam games, and like we really like doing those things, so we always want to include them. But again, we overestimate how much time we have and how long those things will take.
Yeah.
Like, what was I gonna say? Oh, because what was that one game? I think Manisha was like in the jungle or something, and she was trying to.
Oh yeah,
trying to run away from something.
Blobs of the Jungle.
That was another game jam, wasn't it?
That was another game jam.
Oh, cool.
It was a weekend one, and we actually didn't have enough time to finish it that time because we were pretty busy, but we still wanted to be part of it. But we still finished up the game afterwards, which I think is encouraging to other people, I hope, just to go back to a previous game.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Like, do you revisit, like past games after you've, like launched them or released them? Do you go back and like to add little improvements or like even just more features, or you kind of just keep going to the next idea that you have?
Well, usually during a game jam, if we finish it and we submit it and we're like okay with it, it's playable, then we're like, okay, that's enough for now.
Yeah, because usually you're pretty burnt out after like a weekend of just working on one game. You're like, oh, I don't really want to come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But like just our regular game, like Rocket Pig, the full app that we did, that one was, how many years ago did we make that?
We made it in 2017.
Oh wow, 3 years.
Yeah,
almost 4.
But it was really like old. We didn't know what we were doing, but at least we had it on the Play Store, right? So then we came back to it this year since we had more time, and we like figured out what we did wrong. We actually did like a little review video for that game about what we did wrong in the original version and how we like revamped it, made it better for the new version that we've released this year.
Yeah, so definitely you can come back to ideas, but I guess for
when
game
you're ready,
yeah.
If you're like, oh, okay, this game has potential to like be something full scale, then yeah, they're cool ideas to look back on, right? It's like, oh, we have all these game ideas that maybe have potential. So just having that little bank is kind of nice.
Oh, you know what, real quick, is it still on like the App Store and Play Store, or did you guys take it down?
The original version is not on there. We just updated it to have like all the new graphics and everything.
Remind me later. I'll put like a link in the description so people can check it out.
Sure.
That's cool. I wanted to, what was I going to ask? I had it before I mentioned the App Store. It was, shoot, what was it? See this, do you guys have these moments where like, oh, we gotta like edit this later, and like, you know, in your videos, like we'll take this out and then we'll
like when I edit my videos that we're both in and we're just talking, I had to cut out a lot of stuff. Like there's just parts that are unimportant and stuff. But then once you cut it out and you put it all together, you're like, did we really have this conversation? It's like so different once you cut everything out. It's kind of funny to look back on.
Yeah, oh, that's another thing. Like how, because you guys also make like video content, you know, while you're like developing or making art, you know, for your games. Like how do you intertwine that process, you know, with also, oh, like, oh, we have to film this part of our process, you know, like how do you pick like which parts do you want to show in like a video? Because I know there's like a limited, you know, amount of time like for like shorter videos, you know, and you really have to be like selective, I guess. So like how do you guys balance that?
Yeah. Well, for me, for like the programming parts, in the beginning, I was kind of like reluctant to screen record everything I was doing because I do a lot of things wrong, right? And I come back to it. So that was making me a little bit self-conscious, like that I didn't want to record everything and just like the parts that I knew I was doing right. But afterwards, it's like that kind of takes a toll on you too, like just recording the proper parts. So then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to record everything. So I started recording everything and then just going back to that content and taking what I need is like a much faster process for me, at least. And for you, she barely records her artwork.
I hate recording myself drawing.
Yeah.
You forgot to record a clip on one of yours, right? On one of your videos, I think. I forgot which one it was. It was a a devlog one.
Yeah.
Like Nadisha didn't record a clip for the.
Yeah.
Because like I'll come back. I don't really draw like for a long span of time. I'll do it in like a couple minutes and then I'll come back like an hour later, do another couple minutes. So I don't remember to like put the screen recording thing on, and then I just
it's just the process is different, right? Yeah. And it's hard to like, and when you screen record, it's kind of like an added pressure sometimes. It's like you don't want to waste this much time, but it's just like an extra thing.
It's like someone's watching over you while you're trying to do something. Yeah.
Like so, and if you make like a mistake or whatever, you have to erase it, you know, go back. And like, I'm sure in art, you know, you draw like the same line probably quite a bit, right?
It just seems like if you screen record, it'd be like hours of footage, and then it's like you would only get like 30 minutes from it.
Yeah, for me, I'm just used to it after doing it so many times now. I'm just like, okay, screen record and like let it go. It's just a matter of organizing your files too, which is pretty helpful for me.
Oh, you know what are your guys' opinions on, like really buckling down and working like nonstop, like continuously for like a pretty long period of time versus like breaking it up into like smaller bits and working that way?
Oh, we have some we have issues with working for long
Long.
periods of time.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you don't, you kind of lose momentum on the projects you are working on. And yeah, we had like a really big project that we started and we tried working on it for a couple of days and
Mhm.
then
It kind of just
it kind of
faded
died.
out. Yeah. But
That's why I feel like we're so great at game jams because it's a short amount of time and it's like you have to get it done. There's that pressure to get it done. Whereas like a long-term project, it's like you don't have a schedule or like everything's kind of up in the air, so you don't really there's no allotted time to work on it. So the project kind of just
yeah. So we kind of like that pressure of a game jam.
yeah.
Just like having and like knowing that you have this much time, it kind of like gives us this little adrenaline kind of rush to finish something.
That's cool. Yeah, because I guess that short time span kind of gets you motivated, like, oh, I got to get this done, And then it's interesting because, like other creative projects, like for instance, like for authors, like writing a book, like that takes a much more long amount of time. And then I'm sure they'll get burnt out if they really spent like 24 hours, like writing an entire, like, and getting like like a few chapters done, like I feel like it's interesting to see like the difference between the processes of like different creative projects.
Right, that's so true.
But also like I'm not too sure, but I think like the game industry, like at least apps, how it works is like you just have to release a lot of projects, like right? You can't be working on an app for a long amount of time because you don't know if it's gonna be a hit on the Play Store or whatever, right? You like I'm pretty sure app companies are just releasing like a lot of content and that's
just to see what works and what doesn't work, what people like, because it's always changing too, right?
Yeah, and it's just
right.
luck. Like what goes viral is like luck, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to like put a lot out there and just hope something.
Mm-hmm. At least for the mobile, like PC consoles are kind of different. Yeah, because they're more full out, right?
I'm curious, do you guys ever feel like any pressure of like, oh, we need to make something new, like to stay like relevant? Like, do you guys ever feel that at all? Like when you guys are working on things?
There's not really that pressure, I think, because we're not working on it full time. I feel like if we were working on it full time and like we were trying to make money off of it, then we'd be like, okay, there's that pressure. But it's like we both are working, so it's kind of just side projects. So it's just what we work on is just things that are interesting and fun for us in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Like that, like you're enjoying it and not feeling like outside pressure of like, oh, we got to do this. I think that's a really good benefit of like this kind of way of creating.
Yeah, people who work on game dev full time, they definitely have that extra pressure because that's what pays their bills and like they're putting so much time into it. It has to be kind of worth it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When did you guys start making, like, I know you mentioned like you started doing this a lot more like 2 years ago, but did you guys make anything like even prior to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the first time I made a game was in grade 11, like back in high school. My computer science teacher taught us Wannibe Studio, so it's like a lot easier to learn that. It's kind of drag and drop almost. And so my final project for that year was to make like an actual game, something playable. I'm like, okay, I know how to make a game. I feel comfortable with this engine, but I kind of suck at art, right? And she was in like grade 9 probably. And I'm like, can you make some art for this game? Right. And this was for my project, and my computer science teacher didn't really care about like where the art came from and stuff. So I'm like, okay, might as well. She's good at art. So I asked her for a couple things.
Yeah. And then like half of them were from Google, right?
Half of them, like the background and stuff, were from Google. But you did like
like the character and like
it was called Ninja Shadows. So you have like 3 different weapons that you can use to defeat different types of enemies, and it's just a little platformer.
Cool.
So that was our first game, I think, that we did together. Probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
A little background about me. I don't know like how much you guys have researched me or anything. Back in like middle school, I started making like little games using Stencil. I don't know if you've heard of that game engine.
Mhm.
Kind of just drag and drop code to like make
Yeah.
code, I guess. If you want later, like I didn't make it. Usually, sometimes in these episodes, I have like little challenges for the guests to do, or like and me sometimes. I did make one that's 2 players.
Okay.
So at the end, if you guys want to like share your screen of you guys playing it, like
Sure, let's do it. She's not that good at games though.
it's fine. There's just you literally just use the arrow keys and like a button to like shoot because they're like little spaceships going back and forth.
Nice.
So
Let's definitely try it.
I gotta just put it up on the website later. But anyways, yeah, we can do that at the end. Let's see. Shoot, let me pause this real quick. Go.
Okay, yeah. So our latest project was something new that we tried. We were just taking a little bit of a break from game dev, but we still wanted to share like the concepts that we enjoy doing. It's actually a little candy contraption that we made for Halloween because of coronavirus and everything. There's all this social distancing. So we're like, okay, what if we had an automatic candy dispenser? So for people to get their candy. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it happen outside because there were no trick-or-treaters, but we still made it happen. But that was just something new that we tried. We wanted to have like characters and just an experience, create an experience for whoever uses this candy contraption. Because I've been seeing like a lot of YouTube videos about little candy dispensers and stuff, but I'm like, what if we can amp this up like amusement park style, right? So we did that, and it was pretty fun. It was an Arduino based project, so there's still programming and electronics there, and just like physical components, and we still dressed up as characters, and we did a little cinematic for that one. So it was just like a bunch of stuff that we loved doing in game dev, but it was kind of like implemented in real life. Mm-hmm. So that was fun to try, but it was definitely like we always overdo it. That's the thing.
Yeah,
with the details.
Yeah, that's our biggest problem. Like we, especially with like the last actual game we were trying to make, like we were just getting way too much into the details, and like we overdid it, and then we just kind of
got lost.
We got lost.
Yeah. So like when we don't really, this is what I figured out. When we don't see the end of the tunnel, we always get lost. When we have something smaller and we know that we can finish, then we know what we're like striving towards, right? But for a bigger term project, it's like, what are we doing? Like, what do we want?
Yeah. So like the last game that we were gonna make, we even got someone to like write the storyline. We got like a writer to write the storyline for the game, and like we got someone to help with 3D modeling. Like we basically had a team at that point, right? But we like weren't confident in our skills. Yeah, it was just, and we couldn't figure out like where the game was going. There was just a bunch of problems. Yeah. We should probably talk about it in a video sometime, just so that people know that this does happen. Like projects don't always work out the first time. Or I feel like we try to do that in our YouTube videos. This is going all over the place. Yeah. We try to do that in our YouTube videos, like show people that, you know, it doesn't always go according to plan. Right? Because I know a lot of people feel kind of discouraged when things don't go well, or like when people have a hard time with art, which I feel too. Because like if I didn't have her, I would be struggling on the art part for sure, right? So like just showing like these various sides is definitely something we want to do on our channel. Yeah. We don't have that many videos out, but eventually, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Because even sometimes like when you watch like some of your favorite creators, you know, and then they have all this cool stuff, you know, that they're posting, and it's kind of like, oh, they can always make good content, you know, like it's
That's
always
what it feels like.
consistently. And then what they don't see is that creator probably made like 10 things that probably didn't really work out, you know. And then I think that's really cool that you guys are going to show that side of like your creative process.
For sure.
Do you want me to try uploading okay, this is a game I made in middle school, so it looks pretty bad. I think even that background is a it was just a free template thing that I found online. So
That's okay. We don't judge.
oh, it's 2 players, so you guys can both, you're going against each other.
W and S.
So basically it's just these little spaceships and you have to knock one out.
Okay.
I'm really bad at
Enter.
it. Don't worry.
Okay.
You got okay.
Yeah, we got the keys.
Oh wait. Wait, why does one have the no?
What the? I wasn't ready. I was trying to handle the speaker. Okay, rematch.
Oh, I think this is the dev version. No, that's not supposed to happen.
You're not
Yes.
dying.
Oh, you guys are supposed to have equal bullets.
Nice.
One of them isn't supposed to have a laser, I'll tell you that.
Oh my gosh, I can't even hear. Sorry, what was
I
that?
think that's the dev version that I made for myself to mess around with.
That was fun.
Oh,
Very simple mechanics, but
Yeah, and the graphics weren't bad.
you can be in the same universe as Rocket Pig, right?
I think I gave you guys the wrong version on accident because I have like 10 different files of that on here.
Yeah. You can send us the newest version later.
Okay. But yeah, that's just something that I made back a while ago. It's interesting to see like you mentioned earlier, but we weren't recording when you mentioned it, but just looking back on your old projects, you know.
And just seeing like what you made.
Yeah,
recently.
we made a YouTube video about Rocket Pig where we look back.
Yeah, we looked back on the old one and then we compared it to the new one. Yeah, and just talked about like gave people some tips for like what we did wrong. So hopefully that was useful. But
That's cool. I guess, do you guys have any last points that you wanted to offer, or like any, you know, advice, tips, or what about for people that want to delve into game dev or even art too? You know, just kind of learning different fields of creativity.
I think like if you have an idea, try to think of like the smallest version of that idea and just try to make it, like dive into it. Some people like get stuck in this tutorial land where you're trying to learn how to do certain things before you actually make your game. But sometimes it's just easier to dive into it and be like, okay, I need to make this, this, and this, right? And just learn how to make that and implement it into your game and just have something playable. I think like that's your main goal for a first game, is to do that. And don't make your dream game as your first game. People always want to do that, but you learn so much when you just try to make as many
Little things.
small things as you can first. And then when you're ready, I think.
Yeah, because if you try to make your dream game first, you're gonna hate yourself.
Yeah, you're gonna do a lot of
I followed down this
frustrated.
path. Yeah. Because I've tried that. I've been there.
Build your skills, and then
work with other people.
And like we have so much to learn too, like still, even though we're giving this advice, like for us right now is try to figure out how to do a longer term project without getting demotivated. That's like our current goal, I think. I think it's about like building. I watched this one devlog. He's like, motivation's nice to have, but you also have to have like discipline to work on it daily, even when there's ups and downs, you know? Yeah. So I think that's what we need to do right now.
Cool. Yeah. I need to take that advice too. And like long-term projects, I'm definitely working on that myself, you know, try to figure out that balance between like, I got to stay on it, but also not be like too overwhelmed because it's a long-term thing, you know?
Yeah. especially when you have other stuff going on and like our world's in a weird place right now. It's just we gotta balance things.
Well, yeah, those are some great points to leave off on. Thanks, Wannabe Studios, for joining me today on Critter Cafe.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, you guys were pretty in sync. You should do that on your video outros.
I thought it was cringy the last time we did it. But yeah, maybe. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And everyone watching, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Critter Cafe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.